Let us jump right into it. Make we jump right into it, people. This is the deep dive. Listen, I want to continue on this trend I've been on, talking about Bert Samuels, because Bert Samuels is a very prominent lawyer in Jamaica who represents some of the most notorious criminals in our country. And one of the things that I've learned when I was a kid, my grandparents always said, the higher a monkey climb, the more I'm exposed. Bert Samuels, a prominent lawyer who many people hold up as some kind of a deity in our country, went out and started protesting against the police. I did a expose on him, and I will continue. This is just a second iteration of that. Samuels strikes a chord in me because he's a hypocrite. If crime is not remediated in Jamaica, people like Bert Samuels make a lot of money. And they make a lot of money, and you have to ask yourselves, where do these criminals get the money they pay high price legal vultures like Bert Samuels? Now, everybody's entitled to legal representation under law. I would love to have a great lawyer if I was to commit a crime, but I ain't committing no damn crime. And I'm not going to say I'm not going to find myself before a court, but that would have to be if I'm framed. All right, having said that, now, Bert Samuels went out and he demonstrated and he said that the police are wearing masks because police are intended to commit crimes. And we proved him to be a liar. We proved that this tremendously big, powerful criminal lawyer in our country is nothing but a moron and an idiot because we presented evidence, visual evidence, that police all over the world wear masks when they are on special assignments or on special teams that does work that they need to have a certain degree of anonymity. We've proven that. So now we're going to talk to you about, one of the things we learn as Jamaican, them say, when you look at other people, you look at yours, because sometimes your situation worse than other people's. Yeah? And so let's talk about the legal fraternity. Let's talk about the scores and scores and scores and scores of lawyers who have been disbarred. And as anybody who lives in the diaspora know, one of the warnings you get from Jamaican authorities is never send money to Jamaica to give a lawyer, to do no business for you because they will thief your money. Period. If you have built a house, they are going to thief your money. If you are going to buy property, they are going to thief your money. And many of them get in that trouble to thief your money. And some of them don't get in that trouble because a lot of Jamaican people think that these people are above the law, they don't make mistakes, or they don't steal. Just like how some of the judges are corrupt. Let me say this again, because there are a lot of people who believe in Jamaica that judges are all clean. No, some of the judges are corrupt. I wish I had $1 for every person who come and tell me that they have given their lawyer to pay off judges to get off of cases in Jamaica. That's a fact. That is a fact. That's not hyperbole. You understand me? So there are people like Bert Samuels, yeah, who go out and demonstrate against police, but they're not looking after them own yard. And the reality is that a lot of the lawyers are criminal. Now, I'm not going to point any finger on any particular one, but there are scores of them who have been disbarred over the years. Now, there are about 2,000 lawyers practicing law in Jamaica. Only about 2,000 lawyers, right? It's not a low number or a high number. It's about just right for the population, right? Practicing law. But the high number of lawyers who get disbarred and who get arrested and criminally charged and convicted before a court of law, their own kind get convicted before their own judges, because their judges are lawyers. That's what they are. They are lawyers put in positions to adjudicate cases, and a lot of them find themselves criminally charged and convicted in a court of law. According to one report, it says from Jamaican local press, scores of lawyers are disbarred, dragged before the legal council since 2014. I'll read you a little bit of it. 22 attorneys at law have been disbarred in the country over the last 6 years. That's according to statistics obtained from the General Legal Council, GLC. That's the GLC. It's probably more than that, because this is the agency, right? Lawyers who bend the rules for High Buchanan to become a lawyer. cleanse Isaac Buchanan record and come up with all kind of different shit and made Isaac Buchanan a lawyer in Jamaica. So they really don't have no credibility, but I'm forced to mention the name, so I'm going to mention it. And that's according to the General Legal Counsel, as I said. The 22 disbarred lawyers account for nearly 34% of all the attorneys disqualified since the GLC started publishing the data 41 years ago in 1978. In addition, there have been 82 disciplinary proceedings over the same period. Recently, there's debate over whether comments by Security Minister Lawrence Chan that attorneys are being paid with the proceeds of crime are bringing the legal profession into disrepute. What nonsense. The idea that somebody says lawyers are being paid with proceeds of crime, I don't even think that's a question. It's a statement. It's not a question. The Minister of National Security is exactly right. They're being paid with the proceeds of crime. That's why people like Bert Samuels can run his mouth and want to see more crime, because that's how they eat. That's how they make their money. The statistics from the General Legal Counsel supports the argument that too many lawyers, by their own misconduct, have been bringing the profession into disrepute. That's the fact. It has nothing to do with anybody saying anything, bringing them into disrepute, because they're thieves. They're thieves. Since Ronald McIntosh was disbarred in January 10, 1978, 64 other attorneys have suffered a similar fate. Think about that. Out of a group of under 2,000 people, the high rate of theft. It is more than a decade later, in March 1980, that Trevor Malcolm became the second lawyer in the country to be disbarred. But the rate at which attorneys are being disbarred has increased significantly in recent years. And I think if the General Legal Counsel was up on it, it's doing its job, instead of trying to cleanse people's record for them to make them practice an attorney and bending the rules. You wouldn't see this confluence of disbarment and criminal charges in the legal profession. I don't hate lawyers. I'm not going to say all lawyers are thieves and criminals. But, Bert Samuels brought this onto you guys. He's the one who jumped into something that doesn't concern him. Bert Samuels makes money, and there are other lawyers too who make money from criminals who it's in their best interest, it's a vested interest to curry favor with criminals. That's how they make their money. That's how they bring in dollars into their law firm. But to go out and demonstrate it against the police is outright stupid. Lawyers, in fact, in 2017, 6 attorneys were disbarred in the same year for the first time. 6 attorneys disbarred in 1 year. That means they're struck from the role of attorneys, and that decreased to 5 in 2018. But so far in 2019, the number went back up to 6. Over the 6 years from 2014 to 2019, the GLC has heard 82 disciplinary cases. Of those cases, there have been 24 before the GLC on the grounds of professional misconduct, mostly theft. Many attorneys have appeared for the GLC on disciplinary charges multiple times over the period. According to the statistics obtained from the GLC, there are 2,238 practicing attorneys in Jamaica. And it says that the Bar's Prime Minister last week that armed robberies are going up, especially in central Jamaica, as criminals are seeking money to pay attorneys to defend their cronies. So, yes, the Minister of National Security was right. They are committing crimes to get money to pay these high-priced vultures. Okay, and I'm not opposed to them making a living, but let's understand it for what it is. As a former police officer, I've been in court many times where cases are put off because attorneys aren't paid. And I've seen judges acquiesce to that stupidity by allowing the cases to be put off till they eventually get thrown out of court. Now, I think it's only right that if an attorney is not getting paid, then the judge should appoint a lawyer for the defendant and let the case proceed. But it is not in the interest of the people to have cases set back, and then an argument made by the very same attorney who said they couldn't proceed because they didn't get paid, to make the argument that this has been going on for a long time when they are the ones who caused the case not to be tried. And I think that's something that needs to be remedied, something that needs to be remediated. Dr. Chang's statement is credible, very credible. And, there are so many lawyers who are committing crimes, ripping off people who they know don't understand how the legal system works. People who, many of them are living abroad, and don't understand how to proceed against a lawyer because they think once a lawyer take their money there, that money's gone, and they don't know who to go to make a report. They don't know what to do. Um, but of course, if you are robbed, that way you can go to the police. It's a crime, and the police investigates everybody, everybody, and this is what we want to be known. This is why so many people are against police, because there are so many criminals in Jamaica in all kinds of professions, from the highest to the lowest rank. People don't want Jamaica to have a proficient and efficient police department because they cannot commit crimes, and so they're opposed to the police. So, but you know, most of you have heard about the young lady, the 9-year-old child, and one of the things that got molested sexually and unalived in Spanish Town, and of course, the police caught up with the offender and uh, brought justice to him. Obviously, he didn't want to face a court. But I want to add to that. The other thing I want to talk about is real quickly is the fact that people continue to make the argument that that there are too many unaliving by police officers, and I made the argument that a cornered animal is going to fight and is going to um, use whatever tools they have at their disposal to fight against whoever it wants to capture them, any animal at all. One of the things that I also want to touch on are the new penalties for capital murder and other murders, other categories of murder, and manslaughter. As we know, there's been an appropriate increase in the penalties that now makes it mandatory for capital murder and other murders as to the time they will those offenders will spend in jail, and that has been removed from the hands of certain judges. And I say bravo to the government for championing this piece of legislation and making it become law. No thanks to the PNP, the criminal supporting PNP that has no part in the legislation overall. They don't support anything that would protect the Jamaican people because they're a party of criminals. Let me just say this: the 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 uh, the idea. Somebody said to me just this afternoon, that Mike, I don't think the um, extended penalties, the increased penalties is going to work, is working because people are still committing crime, people are still doing so. And of course, the response to that is, well, how do you measure that? This is a new piece of legislation, is new law. And of course, the idea that the penalties are increased, in my estimation, just like I talked about a cornered animal not wanting to be captured, um, the idea that now if you commit a capital murder, you're going to, excuse me, you're going to spend 50 years in prison. And if it's non-capital, you probably do 45 or 40. Don't hold me to the exact numbers, but somewhere up there. Then that to me is a reason why someone would not want to surrender to the police. Nobody wants to spend that time in prison. So I think in the immediate future, we are going to see an escalation, a continued escalation in fatal knockings and clappings, as them boy used to say, from the police. And there may even there may even be another spike in homicides because they're not going to want to see leave witnesses and that sort of thing. So those are things that has to be have to be considered in the broader context of this issue that the nation is faced with. So it's natural that police fatal shootings may increase, and it's also natural that the knockings and clappings by the gangsters will increase as well as they try to avoid capture and imprisonment. So there are people like this guy right here behind me, right here, who continue to lie and spread lies because they need to have criminals to eat. And there are other people on other channels talking about this guy and other lawyers in Jamaica who continue to try to pull the wool over people's eyes when that's the way they make a living. The fact that you represent criminals doesn't mean that you should try to become one or try to be like them or to cotton up to them. As criminal lawyers, you are officers of the court and you should act like one. Let's not forget that. So, as people like Bert Samuels run around and talking about police killing with fatalities, which he doesn't know anything about, he talks a lot because he's looking for clients. And plus, he's a political hack who wants to see the PNP in power. These people don't stand for anything but for themselves, their own self empowerment and their own self enrichment. That's all they care about. This young lady who lost her most precious life. We don't hear Jamaicans for Injustice out, the foreign funded reactionary group in our country. We don't hear them talking about that 9-year-old. They're silent. We don't hear the PNP out talking about this child. She's a baby, a 9-year-old child, innocent child, who have the most precious gift that God could give to anybody, the gift of life taken from her summarily. We don't hear Bert Samuels out there demonstrating. We don't hear Michael Jackson out there talking because those lives are not important. Those lives don't mean anything. And the lives of the 22,000 people over the last 15 years that have been snuffed out doesn't mean anything to them. What is of significance and of significant important to them are the lives of the thugs, yeah, the low life punks, the thugs, the scum who would snuff out the lives of the innocent. That's what's important to these frauds. Yeah, that's what's important to them. This is what's important to these. And as you look at them, you see the disingenuous nature of these people. They don't care. As long as they're fat, as long as they keep making money, they don't care about what's happening. They come out talking about police where this nonsensical, farcical notion that police are wearing masks because they want to commit crime. What a load of shit coming from this guy. Look at him. A lot of these lawyers, it's only because we don't have the police department that we used to have, we should have, with the investigative capacity and the techniques, why some of these guys are not locked away. Yeah? This is why they come out and run their mouths about law enforcement. Law enforcement is a completely different discipline from lawyering. These guys should stay in their lane and let the police do their jobs, because I don't see the police running around talking about thieving lawyers who are associated with criminals and dons and all kinds of shadowy underworld figures, literally acting as consigliere rather than criminal lawyers. A lot of these people who run their mouths are simple consigliere. Yeah, they're advisors to criminals. They go way beyond the act of lawyering. But the ones who get caught, the ones who get disbarred, are the ones who are stealing people's money. Usually that's it. Greed, envy, selling people's property, keeping the money, handling people's suing and receiving the money and telling their clients that they haven't gotten the money while they spend the people's money. Greed, wanting to live a life of opulence with money they have not earned. This is what they're doing. But they find time to criticize the people who are putting their lives on the line in service to their country. Now, who is a fraud? Who is a real criminal here? Who is a criminal? Who is immoral? I would like to see the day when there's a moral outrage on the part of every Jamaican Moral outrage, like the moral outrage well-thinking Jamaicans and members of the security forces feel when they place their lives on the line to go after these criminals who are unaliving people, robbing, raping. And every single day we hear and we see the news reports of these thugs, these low-life scumbags, breaking into people's homes and unaliving them, raping and unaliving children, babies. But when these thugs, when these low-lives, when these low-life scumbags meet their destiny, people like this guy right here, him right here, have the most things to say and lie about. How do you get any respect? You don't deserve no respect. You deserve no respect. You're nothing more than one of those people that you're defending. Nothing more. Should be ashamed of yourself. But you all have no shame. We need a change in focus. We need a change in focus, right? Like I said before, we need a lot more laws like the ones that just got passed. Yeah, we need to have stricter penalties, not just on murders, but on most crimes. We need crimes like the law that allows people the squatters' rights law to be disbanded. It should be removed from the books. It is a law that increases and encourages criminality. There are so many things that we could do differently in our country. So many things that we could do differently to remediate this problem of crime and violence. Alas, one party believes in trying to fix the problem. The other party believes in capitalizing from the problem. The other party believes in telling people that it's okay for them to be poor, telling people that it's okay for them to be criminals, telling people that they have a right, giving people the impression that they have a right to commit crimes. And anybody who dared to stop them from committing those criminal acts are oppressors and are violating their constitutional right. They give the Jamaican people, especially the poorer people, the belief that somehow they have a God-given or a constitutional right to commit crimes. No, you don't. You don't have a constitutional right to commit crimes. You don't. You don't. And any political party and any politician will come and tell you that because you're in a state of poverty, you're entitled to break the law. That politician is himself and herself a criminal. And there are a lot of people in the People's National Party who are running for elected office who are criminals. At least we know one is a twice convicted felon who is running for a seat in parliament in East Portland. So, yes, this is a party that supports criminality. This is a party that does not stand with law enforcement. This is a party that is silent when law enforcement comes under attack. This is a party that is silent when innocent young children are being brutally molested and unalived. They are deathly silent, but they have everything to say about police taking out hardcore criminals. How could any police officer vote for this is beyond me. But I know a lot of you plan to vote for them because it seems like a lot of you lack the ability to think for yourselves. And you grow up PNP, you know, or you think that voting for them you're going to get promotion because you didn't get a promotion under the Labour Party government. When you're involved in fighting crime in our country, it is bigger than yourself. It's something bigger than yourself. And if you reach a stage where you feel like, all right, this doesn't serve my interest any further, then you should leave it. You shouldn't stay. You should leave. Because the minute you become bitter, start to become a bad cop. So leave. And you're free to vote for whoever you want to. But if you really, really, really start to think about it, you'd look at what's happening right now and you'd wise up speaking to police officers. You'd wise up. So if you think that, you're going to get one promotion or whatever, if the PNP comes to power, ask yourself at what cost will that election come when you vote for them? Ask yourself what cost, because certainly they don't respect you. They don't respect the rule of law. They don't respect our country. For them, it is to burn the whole shit down so they can preside over the ashes. That's what they want. They don't care about you. They want to burn everything down so that they can preside over the ashes. And when I say burn everything down, that includes you and you and you. Because for them, it has always been grab and steal. And they tell the poor people how much they love the poor, and they keep you poor and dispossessed and uneducated so they can keep exploiting you. At the same time, if you check them, every one of them have doctor behind their name or their lawyers. Yeah. They don't care about you. Folks, we have a country that we love, and it is up to all of us, even those of us who live in the diaspora, to make our voices heard. We cannot maintain a country in which anything goes, or we allow the loudest voices that are wrong to shout out the rest of us, to drown out the rest of us. If 2 million people are wrong, they are still wrong. If all 3 million people are wrong, they are still wrong. They're not right. But I fundamentally believe, contrary to what a lot of people think, that the vast majority of people, even some of those who live in some of the most depressed areas, are good people, decent people who do not support criminals. But the criminals are loud, they're dangerous, and so the law abiding citizens of Jamaica remain silent. But you have to let your voices be heard. Don't endanger yourself, but you have to let your voices be heard. And one way to make your voices heard is when you go to the ballot box. When you go to the ballot box, send these criminal loving anti Jamaicans who want to, anti Jamaica, send these anti Jamaica criminal supporting asswipes. Send them a very strong message that you don't want them. You have nothing to do with them because you want your country and you want your child and you want your children and you want your grandchildren to grow up in a Jamaica that is safe, secure, and prosperous. Folks, this has been the deep dive. Like our content, like all our videos, share them, leave us a comment, give us a like, or tell us what you don't like. We encourage interaction. Thank you so much. Have a good night.